Okay, hello and happy World Plone Day 2021. My name is Asko Soukka and I'm from Jyväskylä, from Finland. I work at University of Jyväskylä there in our internal digital services service department, developing web solution for our university. And today on Plone World Day, I'll present our latest Plone solution where we are able to implement user epics, so long user stories using BPMN. And what this is all about, what does that mean? Let's look at our problem first. Okay, so we were about to implement a service where a user had to complete a very long epic, so long story complaining smaller stories. And we kind of had this already available before, so that users had to remember themselves where they were going. So in this long story, anyone coming to our service needs to first to be able to enroll a course, needed to do email verification, so we know that user has working email, and then identity verification, so that we know that that is a real person, so we can let her to have a user account for us and use our services. And then after that process, there's the actual account registration. So user is required to create a user account for us so that he can log in and then enroll to our service. And now after these three steps where user previously went to a separate service to do that stuff, now they were able to log in. And now after login, they were able to enroll a course, and that enrollment also might involve going to outside payment service to do the payment for the course. And now, after all these steps, the user were actually able to enroll the course and open the course at our learning environment and start studying the course. And of course, each of these steps already are quite a long user story as itself. And as I said previously, our previous implementation was such that we have all this we are working, but users, and we did provide links to where to go to continue for the next step, but users themselves have to remember where they were at the process and what they should do next. So we were given an assignment to fix this. We need something above all these individual stories, a higher level story to manage through whole this complete process and make sure that user successfully can get through this whole long epic without getting lost. Or if something goes wrong, we were able to know where the user was stuck and what went wrong. And luckily, we had been learning solution of process modeling language called BPMN, and that became our solution for this problem. So BPMN is a standard business process modeling language with notation and also serialization for all this process. And the BPMN model looks like a flow chart basically. It's quite simple language with it's quite readable as such. And what makes it special is that the language or the standard specifies not only what elements there are and how it looks like, it also specifies the serialization so that the one model contains both the layout, the visual layout, so the model itself is readable and kind of documents the process. It also includes the machine readable version of the process, which makes it possible for, and it's extensible, so it makes it possible for process engines to actually execute the process. So after we have been modeling the process, we could send that model to the process engine, that workflow engine that would then execute the process and continuously tell us where is the user going in that process. And then that engine provides us a great API that we can always ask where the user is going, and then when the user does an action, we send to the engine that, okay, do that action, and then the engine tells us back where the user should be now. And during this presentation, I won't show you our actual process models for our use case. I think we had kind of about maybe 10 different files, and then they were composed into one big process model. So these models can be nested, and the lower level small processes can be reused within the model. And how this relates to Plone. So previously, Plone was just this one big Plone service running. But now with the next generation Plone, you have option to run a separate front-end service for Plone. So Plone is split into the backend service and the front-end service. The front-end service is written in React.js, so it's very modern, fast, flexible in such it can provide very nice user experience with the front end. And because the front end uses Plone as just as a service, so it's black box REST API service. Also any other service can. Thanks to Plone, we have everything we can done at the front, and we can also done with other services. So Plone has become awesome headless CMS service where we can plug in everything you want in the same way as the now Plone plugs its own new user interface we call Volto. So Plone, the next generation Plone as default is the front-end service and the backend service. And how we plug in this process model execution for that, we have the actual process files here. They are run by the Camunda process engine. So Camunda process engine is open source engine for running BPMN processes, the BPMN modeled processes, and it does just that, and it does it very well. And it provides excellent REST APIs for managing those processes and integrating with those processes. Unfortunately, the Camunda APIs are as REST APIs usually are, they are quite fragmented. So to get in many cases, we need to make several calls for the REST APIs to actually get out what we want or do what we want. And that's why we had to implement another service. So we have like our middleware process API service between Volto and Camunda. So it simplifies the Camunda REST API for us. So we have very simple endpoints to call from Volto to get state of the process and also interact with Plone. Because now that we have this extra Plone service, extra Python service here, we can also integrate. We could also integrate all the like automations we want to do with Plone with this inside this service. So actually, in this project, we are able to use a stock Plone. We only had our custom authentication for Plone, but otherwise we are using stock Plone, doing Plone configuration through Plone user interface, and then we only customized Volto user interface to be able to integrate with our middleware process API, which then has the user state in the process and aligned with this BPMN process models. And now I think seeing is believing. So let's look at this simple process I showed you and how it works in our setup. And here, let's look at this BPMN in more detail. So I will present you simple like tour process through Plone. And now this is running in Camunda Modeler, which is open source modeling, BPMN modeling software provided us by Camunda. It's open source, it's free, and it's very nice to use modeling tool, such even for drawing models. But it's also extensible, so I can demo. It's a few nice plugins which I use here to show actually how this process goes. So our example process contains a few user steps. So we show user welcome, and then we show user event listing, and then at the event listing, user will be able to select if the user wants to create their own event or just continue. And if user just continues, then eventually we show a thank you, and the process is complete. And of course, we always want this process to end somehow. So we don't want to have forever dangling processes in our system. So forever dangling sessions. We need to have some kind of session timeout. And that's what we can do with BPMN. So we wrap all these steps inside the sub-process. And for the sub-process, we can define explicit cancel, so user can cancel the process anytime, or we have timeout. So if the user just get stuck somewhere for long enough time, then we time out the session and the process is ended. And the user, of course, then start again. And same is here. So if users get stuck on the thank you page, then we time out the process. So process will be ended. So we never have long-running dangling processes. And also, we can abstract this process in smaller models. So here we have a special so-called call action where we call sub-process. So now if user has chosen to submit their own event, then we call the process enters this sub-process. And this is a smaller sub-process where we will show user a form. We show user a form. And when user submits the form, then we have integrations here that calls the Plone REST API to actually use the input from the user form and then actually create the event. And if it successes, then this is ended and we return to the super process. Or if it fails, then we show user an error and user can try again. Or user can press cancel and then this process is canceled. And also then we would return to this process. And thanks to BPMN having separate layout and the technical details, we can have this manual layout as nice as we want. And it's quite useful to have the happy path like on the center. It's very easy to see how this happy path goes, and then have all the exceptions around it. And let's see it show one more time how if the user cancel, then the process will go to this cancelled path. So actually, already in the process modeler, we can solve many problems with user epics. So we already in this model, we need to figure out all the steps user need to take, and also choose all the options user need to choose from, and all the exceptions we need to handle during the process. So actually, when we were implementing that our actual process, I spent quite a lot of time just with this modeler, and I saw a lot of problems already on this modeler before I get forward to actually implementing those steps. So I did impatient say that from this modeler we don't generate any code for us. This is only a model, and the process engine will execute that model, and it's up to us to map all these steps also some user interface at Volto. So there's a lot of manual work still to do after this process, but this process will help us to kind of keep everything working properly. And I managed such complex state of the process somewhere. Right. Okay. Now we should be able to actually check how this demo would work. Okay. So yeah, this is .plone. We have Plone looking at Volto user interface for modern Plone, and this is just running empty Plone site through Volto interface. Nothing special here. And to able us to execute my demo process, I added special button here. So this will start our Plone workflow process. We see welcome. It lets me to continue. And now I want the event listing, and I'll see here. Of course, this is a matter of taste how we implement this kind of dialogues, how user do things. Here we choose to use this alert toasties. So okay, I want to create a new event. I see the event form, and okay, I can enter event where Plone Day 2021. And so this is file custom form, nothing automated here. And let's make it so that it passes for the first time. Okay. And now we return to the event listing, and we have the new event here. And now if I happen to get lost during the process, I will have toast reminding us, okay, here we have a progress something ongoing, so let's go back, continue. And now I'm done, so I don't want to make new events anymore. As we know, now I'm on the thank you page. And on that page, I have a code that automatically closes the thank you action. And now it's done. And let's do that a couple more times. So I can cancel any time the process. or I can try to create a new event and fail on that. So let's try. I don't have any kind of validation on this first form. So now when I get the event that ends before it starts, that will actually fail on the back end. And I will get an error. And that's just lazy coding that I don't translate the error on front end currently. But now I would be able to fix that. Or I press cancel. Now I press cancel. So actually I can press this cancel. This cancel is the cancel for the sub process. So I return the event listing, and now I can cancel the whole process. And now the fun part, because let's start one more process so that it kind of is running here, but I don't complete it. Fun part, all these actions are recorded by the workflow engine, and they are not tracked by the workflow engine. They are executed by the workflow engine. At every step, I ask from the workflow engine where we are going. So, for example, now we are seeing that there is one process ongoing, and it's currently running here in the submit event sub process. And from this Camunda workflow engine cockpit application, I can dive into this sub process, see where I was going. Okay, I was going here. I can get back to the sub process. And even better, I can choose how long I want to have history for all the previous processes. So if we had some issues, we are able to see how the users were doing before, and did they have what kind of issues they had. So this is the my last trial where I went to the create one event, but I canceled it, and I eventually canceled the whole process. From the log, I can see that I have been here, and we can see I did got API error once. I guess I had wrong input for the new event form. Then I was returned to the submit form, and then I pressed cancel. And then I was returned to this support process, and here I did press cancel here, and the process was ended. And now, meanwhile, when I was showing this, yeah, okay, this is still going. I'm expecting this to timeout very soon. So we can still check some history processes. And this is the first one, the happy path, successful execution of this demo process. So I started process. I saw the welcome page. There was shown the event listing. I chose to create one event. I created one event, and then I was fine, and I was continued to close this sub process, and then I was on the thank you page. And on thank you page code, there is just automatic completion for this task, and then it was directing me to the front page, and this process was complete. And now let's check one more time if it has timeouted. Not yet. Okay. Anyway, if this process would timeout, then it would see patch here that this process has been ended by timeout, and users should be shown here that okay, it's done. But now when the process is still running, Volto, our integration keeps reminding me that I have process in progress. So I have in our implementation, we can only have one process session per user at a time. So user need to complete this before user can continue to other tasks. Done. Yes. So by going this BPMN model route, of course this implementation was a lot of more complex than doing without. As you see already from this graph, we have many pieces. We needed our custom middleware service, and then Camunda service, and then a lot of the BPMN files to make this, to be able to use BPMN for implementing these epics. But at the end, we have documentation for the processes, And those documentations are always up to date because they are also the models used for executing those user epics. And now we are able to help the user to get on track if they get lost while doing that long epic. And also, if they got stuck somewhere, we have one Camunda cockpit dashboard to check where the user was stuck, and we have full history of the user execution to know what went wrong if something went wrong. So we don't need to check logs for dozens of different services, but there's one place where we can see what did the user do and what went wrong. And of course, we don't preserve those data forever, but in Camunda, there's built-in settings for store this history data for specific time and then clean it up. So that's taken care of. Okay, so one more demo. What happened? I'm on this. I started the process. I'm on a welcome page. We'll see one process running. It's at the welcome page. Like that. Then I continue to the next step. I see the event listing. Let's refresh Camunda. Now that process has continued the event listing part. Okay, now I want to create an event. We can see from the process that user choose to create an event and user entered the sub process submit event, and user is now on the submit form. And here, user creates a new event, wants to submit the event. Like this. Yeah, this has ended a long time ago. Anyway, and now we see that this process was completed. We can only see it on this history view. And now the user has returned to the event listing. And now either it will time out. Yeah, now we can wait for the timeout because I forgot that this timeout is much shorter than this timeout. So this timeout is something we can see very, very fast. So we wait for a minute, and then this task will time out, and user will here. And if I did correctly, user will redirect here to the home page or the timeout page. Okay. Great. And here we can have the visuals, how the process has gone. We can also have a step-by-step audit log to see the exact date, time, how did the process go, and how long user spent time on specific process. So maybe if we would like to optimize a process, we could collect all this data from a long period and see what are those steps that are taking too much time and what we would optimize to make the process even nicer in the future for users. And now I'm still waiting for that timeout to happen. Yes, now it happened, and we can see our browser we had a poller on our code to check for the processing status for every few minutes, and so it did direct us to the timeout page. We also see from the process model that process is now at the timeout page, and we can only okay. That's okay, and user is back on the thank you page, and very soon the process completed. So this is of course just a simple demo process, and I'm sure this can be also implemented simple ways. But when this process got really complex, our process has 10 steps for user at least. Then it really helped to have this model-based approach to complete our goals. So thank you for watching this demonstrations how to use BPMN with Plone and Volto to implement very complex and long user epics. so that everything still works and is maintainable. And I've released this demo as open source at GitHub, and I need to say it's consider it a code dump. So it's basically a Volto add-on with this custom process API service running next to Volto. But I believe it needs a few iterations to make it really more convenient to use. So now it's there, and you can start with Docker Compose and try it out. But try it. Thank you for watching.